Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm once again here on the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman, here with the Pet Health Guru. And last week we talked about cat nutrition. This time it's the dog's turn, dog nutrition.
Absolutely. We talked on the cat one, of course, of cats being an obligate carnivore, as opposed to what our canine friends are, which are basically opportunistic carnivores. And what that actually means is they're more of a scavenger. It doesn't matter if the meat is fresh. It could be previously killed, roadkill, 3 days old. They don't care. The smellier, the better.
It could be cat. It could be cat poop too.
That's right. Exactly. We talked about that. But that's just it. They will eat a lot of inappropriate things if they're out of balance. Now, being that they're a carnivore means that they do need mostly animal fats and proteins. Will they adjust and adapt to staying alive with carbohydrate-based commercial foods? Absolutely. Doesn't mean that they're going to be happy. It doesn't mean that they're going to be healthy. They should be eating basically the same as our cats, which is a raw meat diet. Some of them will prefer lightly cooked or warm. You have to remember that when they get a kill in the wild, that food is not frozen. It's not cold. That body is still warm. And that's the way they prefer their food. They'll eat a variety. Again, like with cats, we recommend a variety, rotational diet, something different every day. So we get all the different nutrients into the body and that we're cleansing out the very specific toxins. And because dogs are opportunistic and scavengers, they will eat a lot of bad stuff, and that can cause a lot of angst to dog owners, where they're spending a ton of money on veterinary services that basically do nothing. And we have to understand that almost all these so-called diseases that we see in these trips to the emergency room, these are nothing more than events. I just had a case with a American bully that jumped off the bed, hurt his shoulder and his back leg, was basically dragging it. Instead of running to the vet, we used some phototherapy and some increase in nutrition, no drugs at all, and within 3 days the dog was running around again. It was just, the body has to heal itself. You can't keep pushing it. We have to watch that in our dogs as well too, because we have a tendency to push them into our direction. So, if you're a jogger, that's why you want to take your dog out for a run. I mean, dogs' legs are half the length of ours, so that they're working twice as fast and burning up energy, and we don't even think about it, the wear and tear that we're putting on our dogs. So a good nutritious diet is important. Not only meats and fats, muscle meat and fats, but also organ meats, eggs, raw dairy, bone broth. All these things that actually make us healthier are also good for our dogs. Stay away from the sugar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I was thinking about something like, so you're talking about their scavengers, and I've seen it in my life where they'll eat stuff that makes them sick, but they won't even hesitate the next time around to eat the same thing that makes them sick.
It's because their nutritional needs are not being met. They will go out in the wild. Canines will hunt areas for different types of foods based on what their body needs. That's natural cravings. The body actually tells us the same thing when it's not being polluted by, the synthetic sugars and addictive drugs that they add to our food. That's the nature of it. And of course, in dogs, it's not quite as bad as it is with cats. Because they are more the scavenger type. They will seek out what they need. One of the interesting things I've been preaching for probably 20 or 30 years now, when I was doing dog training, the number 2 training issue was you open up the door and the dog charges out, runs away.
Yeah.
And that was, major problems with training. And the interesting thing about it was usually the dog will show back up at the door 2, 3, 4 hours later, usually with either a Burger King or a McDonald's bag as a hat. And basically what they were doing, they said, "Hey, Mom, you're not feeding me the right stuff. I'm going hunting." And that's what exactly they do. Then they hunt for trash that's going to fulfill that bodily need that they need to try to stay healthy.
Wow. So I have a question too, is like, I've always known my whole life, most people know this, that you can't give chocolate to dogs. It could kill them. Is that true? And why is that, if it is?
It Okay. There are compounds in a lot of different things, like garlic. They tell you the same thing. Grapes, chocolate, of course, being a big one. Actually, the small amounts of the compounds in there that cause problems will not affect your dog unless they eat way too much. And in most cases, they will not eat too much. Just like us, you can't eat excessive amounts of chocolate
I
because
can.
you will vomit it up. It'll
I
just come
can.
over.
I can, unfortunately, but I have
You've
to
never hit
stay
that
off
limit.
of it now. But yeah, my kids used to make fun of me. Like, they'll say, "Don't leave a pan of brownies out at night; they'll be gone by morning." And they're not kidding. I could sit and eat a whole pan of brownies in one sitting, no problem.
Yeah,
I That super rich chocolate cake that people take a bite of it and they're like, "Oh, that's too rich for me." I'm like, "Hand it over. I'll eat the whole thing." Not
absolutely.
anymore because I did poison my body, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is. I'm definitely an addict to chocolate too. Like people don't realize all this poisonous stuff. Your body gets addicted to it, and so that's why you think that's what your body needs because you're craving it, but you're craving it because you're addicted to it. Whereas when you start going clean, which I did, I didn't have the cravings anymore. Once I went clean, I was able to even walk into like an ice cream shop with my grandkids and look at it. I didn't have to be somebody, "Oh, well, I can't go inside." I can look at it, smell it, and not need to have it.
No, that's true. Once we get our bodies clean, the same is true with all of our animals. As long as we're feeding them clean and the species appropriate diet, we don't have a problem. And the other thing is, again, just like when we talked about the cats, leaving dry food down for them all the time. First off, it's carbohydrate based. They can't use it. It actually bloats them because you got to think the body's got to provide a lot of water in order to start breaking it down. Dogs are then drinking, you know, incessantly. It's like just they can't get enough water because they are dehydrated from the dry foods. And like I say, they're without the proper nutrition, they're going to be looking for other things. That's why dogs will eat sticks and stones and shoes and pantyhose and all kinds of other things that are inappropriate. The whole clothing thing is because our clothing smells like us, and we're an animal. So they
Ah,
want,
that makes
you know,
sense.
yeah. It's and again, we need to be doing the detoxification, and we use a lot of herbal products, of course, at my Paleo Pet and with BioComplete to detoxify. Because again, our dogs are even worse than cats as far as when it comes to chemical pollution in their body, because we're using all these flea and tick products on a regular basis. We poison the body to kill one little tiny insect. I mean, that's ridiculous. And we're treating it for um, something that they don't normally have. Your dog isn't loaded with fleas all the time. They're not loaded with ticks all the time. Heartworms, the same thing. And yet the veterinary community says, they sell it as a prevention when the box itself says this is not a prevention, this is a cure.
Hmm.
And yet people just keep spending their money and keep poisoning their dogs and then wondering whether in the, having to do their 6 month checkups and the blood work is all screwed up.
So let me ask you another question. I find that a lot of dog owners, because the vets say it, are like super loyal to the only food they should give their pets is that one what's it? It's Diant's Siet.
Yes. There's no science in science diet, by the way.
Like, what is
It's
with that? People are like, it's like a cult.
It is, and well, of course, all of medicine is. Even with with humans. I mean, you got some people that are just so strict with their doctors they couldn't possibly look at a healthy meal. I mean, that
Right.
would be impossible. And of course, doctors, veterinarians, they do not talk about health. They have no health in their toolbox. It's all medicine, diagnostics, and the body's a dynamic machine. Our dogs and cats are exactly the same. They're changing from moment to moment. When you're running with your dog, obviously they need different energy than when they're, snuggled up with you watching a movie. It's like,
Hmm.
but so we have to understand that it's true with us as well. But dogs being a scavenger, and actually we're kind of a scavenger too, because you open up the refrigerator door and it's like, what's in there?
Yeah, sometimes to me nowadays, because I eat so healthy, it's kind of like turning on the TV. It's like I open the refrigerator and okay, yeah, there's nothing on the TV right now. Like I'll
Yeah,
open and close it. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing I want in there.
yeah. Well, it's funny. I was at a supermarket I think it's about a month ago. We had to pick up something to make a meal, and we walked the whole supermarket. And I was asked, "Well, did you see anything that you want?" Nope, nothing in this whole supermarket that I really wanted because I know how it's prepared. I know the chemicals that are in it. It's like I can't do this.
Yeah,
Just give me a good steak, just like my dog wants.
there you go. And so let's talk about different breeds of dogs. Do they have different health needs for nutrition? Because, like, dog parents, they're not going to know, and the vet's going to probably give the same advice to every single person. And I'm sure different breeds of dogs have different needs.
The basic needs are going to be all the same. And if you're feeding a species appropriate diet, like I say, a good raw meat diet to a dog, you're not going to have the issues in between the individual breeds. Now, you take something like a bulldog, a Frenchie, whatever, with their pushed in faces and that sort of thing, they could never hunt for themselves. First off, their short legs and the way they're built, they couldn't chase anything down. And if they did, they couldn't grab onto it because there's no face. There's no, basically muzzle to be able to grab onto it. Um, we do see a lot of problems though in certain breeds with commercial foods, particularly big breeds. Hip dysplasia is probably the most prominent one. They've been looking for, veterinarians have been telling us for 75 years or more now that it's genetic. But yet, all the research that they did at Cornell and Penn State and all the other good veterinary schools out there, they have not been able to isolate a genetic link,
Hmm.
a genetic cause. However, there's been tens of thousands of research papers published on how that particular problem is actually caused by dry dog food. And the mechanics of it, when you stop and think about physiology, and unfortunately, doctors and veterinarians do not study physiology to any great extent. It's just basic and that's it. But when you're going through a growth spurt on a dog, on a big breed, like German Shepherd, a Great Dane, whatever, okay, the body starts storing up nutrients, and then we're going to build these bones very, very quickly. Well, when it starts to click in, okay, muscle stretches, fat doesn't. So what happens is the growth of that bone is actually being restricted by the fat because we're feeding them carbohydrates, which converts into sugar and then fat. So the bone does not develop properly. Of course, we're going into a joint that's also developing. There's no muscle to hold that together. So that joint is just moving around and it just wears on that soft bone. And now you've got hip problems. And,
Hmm.
fortunately, it can actually be reversed through just good nutrition. But of course, doctors, what do they want to do? Hip replacement, $20,000 per hip.
Yeah,
And
I don't even see where that's good in adults. And people I know that get hip replacement, I don't know. It seems like they have issues.
Yeah, well, the body, anytime you get replacement, first off, you're going to get rejection because the body's seeing it as a foreign body. Just like if you mentioned you have a bacteria laden food or a toxin laden food, the body's going to reject it,
Yeah.
and it does the same thing with artificial joints. And of course, the other thing is on the other side is doctors and veterinarians love to just remove body parts. We've had discussions on that before. They're just crazy. Oh, you don't need a gallbladder. Oh, well, wait a minute. Why is it there then? I don't need an appendix. Why is it there then?
Well, because their initial training was playing operation as a kid.
Yeah. So once you started altering it, and of course, then spay and neuter enters into that too. The nutritional needs are different because the whole endocrine system is screwed up. And, the pancreas is, of course, a part of that. That's what makes our digestive enzymes. So if I'm giving them carbohydrates, which they're not supposed to have, the body then has to make the amylase to start breaking down the carbs. It also then has to make a ton of insulin, which it shouldn't be doing on the carnivore. And you've had events when it comes to insulin. It's not that your body's not making insulin, but the liver's not making the enzymes to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you start adding it artificially too, the body quits making it.
Exactly. It feels it has no need to.
Yes.
So how do people find out more about not only their dog's nutrition, but anything having to do with their dogs or cats? I know you have My Paleo Pet. People can check out, and Pet Health Cafe. Tell them all about both of those and anything else.
Pet Health Cafe, of course, as you're well aware of, because I started with you, has been around for the 18th season. We've been doing this conversation for a long, long time. A lot of different topics, a lot of in-depth stuff. You can go through the archives and just find whatever you need. A lot on cancers, a lot on nutrition, a lot on behavior as well. Pet Health Cafe is on YouTube 24/7, iHeartRadio, among a whole host of other venues. My Paleo Pet has its website, mypaleopet.com. Again, all of our products from that we make from BioComplete are listed there. Different herbals, botanicals, foods, and farm to table items for pet parents. A bunch of magazine articles and that sort of thing are also listed on that website. And of course, they can reach me through the store itself, My Paleo Pet, in Pompano Beach, Florida. You can call the store, set up an appointment for a consultation. A lot of people avoid paying me for those because they sneak in the front door and just ask questions. But and I'm always willing to explain the processes behind it. Of course, we just physically moved, so we had the new addresses are up there on the website and everything. And one of the unique features we've added to this is that we added an educational center where we'll be able to bring in guest hosts and things of that nature to expand on our knowledge base of getting proper information, true information on health and wellness to pet owners and, of course, their pets themselves.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Everybody's got to check out My Paleo Pet and watch and listen to Pet Health Cafe, because that is truly the only place where your pet has a voice.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your wealth of information, Pet Health Guru. Always a pleasure, and always helping our pets for so long. It's amazing, and we'll see you next week on the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman.
Aftershock, the West Coast's largest rock, metal, and punk festival, returns to Sacramento this October with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Limp Bizkit, Pierce the Veil, plus Suicide Boys, Queens of the Stone Age, The Offspring, A Day to Remember, Wu-Tang Clan, and more. Aftershock, October 1st through 4th. Passes are on sale now, starting at only $1 down at AftershockFestival.com. Louder Than Life, North America's loudest rock and metal festival, returns to Louisville this September with My Chemical Romance, Iron Maiden, Tool, Limp Bizkit, plus Pantera, Pierce the Veil, Gojira, Papa Roach, and more. Nearly 200 bands across 7 stages. Louder Than Life at the Kentucky Expo Center, September 17th through 20th. Passes are on sale now, starting at only $1 down at louderthanlifefestival.com.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm very excited about what we're talking about this week on the Positively Pipeman segment with powerful business strategies. It's the Trump Tariff Rebates. And Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO is here with us to tell us all about it.
Thank you, Dean. So I'm not going to get political about Trump. I'm just going to say what's happening with respect to the tariff situation. So the Supreme Court disallowed all those tariffs that started last April of 2025. Now, only the importer of record can get the rebate. So what I'm telling all my clients is anybody who used the Trump tariffs as an excuse to increase prices, they should be called and either future purchases come through at a lower price to make up for that, or get some type of rebate yourself. Because what happened was everybody used as an excuse to increase prices the Trump tariffs, and now everybody is getting a rebate. Now, when I say everybody, once again, just the importer of record gets the rebate, but they receive dollars for the purpose of to cover those rebates that to cover those tariffs that they're now getting rebates on. So anybody who's used that as an excuse, you got to go back to them and ask them for some type of rebate or future discounts on prices, because you're not going to get the benefit. You pay for the rebates theoretically, and you're not going to get the benefit. You're not going to get the benefit from them. So it's really important that you go back in your thought process or notes or whatever it is, that the reason why people increase prices, if they were due to the Trump tariffs, then you deserve a rebate because they are getting them.
Yeah. It's such an important subject here because I think people don't really understand the tariffs and the rebates.
Right. But they paid for them.
Right.
Right.
I know this firsthand from something I bought, so, I think people need to go to somebody like you that can give them solid advice from solid research instead of them guessing, and then they end up ahead of the game instead of behind the eight ball.
Yeah, and one of my clients who followed through and went back to this, that particular client had 3 or 4 suppliers who used the Trump rebate as an excuse to increase prices, and it went back to them and didn't get a rebate, but got a great deal on future purchases for a period of time. So it's important that you follow up because everybody's falling asleep on it, right? If you pay, historically what you paid is forgotten and is in the distant memory, distant past.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of business owners who were given the excuse that the prices went up because of the Trump tariffs need to push back now. Time to push back because they're not getting the rebate. Only the importer is getting the rebate. So whatever that chain is, and that chain might be 2 or 3 levels back, but you've got to have your supplier push back on the importer. So there's a chain there potentially, but by the same token, you overpaid for something that somebody's going to benefit tremendously on if you don't push back.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
I know. So, imagine being that importer or that never gets any pushback, was able to increase price and now gets a rebate.
Yeah, exactly. So how can people reach out to you to get more information about stuff like this and other things that could be some powerful business strategies for them?
Well, they just have to go to my website, nextstepcfo.net, go to the contact page. What I would love to give them is a tool that will, it's actually a diagnostic that would give them a complete assessment of their business in less than 5 minutes with 3 strategies that they can implement now and the impact that those strategies should have on their business based on their input. So if you go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the contact page and put in the words diagnostic, I will send you that immediately, and you could see what type of impact 3 new strategies would have that your competition isn't doing.
Nice. And you are definitely the powerful business strategy expert of the show. And so people need to definitely reach out and at least just do an exploratory, conversation or, exchange to see how you guys can benefit them.
That'd be great.
Well, thanks once again for being here on the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman. And we look forward to talking to you next week about the 10% pricing trap.
Thanks, Dave. Look forward to it.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.